Good evening, I am Amadin Ogbewe. Now tonight we'll be taking a look at the very serious issue of unlawful detentions in Nigeria. We'll be taking a look at the perspective from the past to the present, the real problems, the root causes, the possible solutions and the way forward. We'll be taking a look at how far Nigeria still has to go in terms of ensuring freedom for all Nigerians out there and ensuring that their human rights are always intact. Tonight, I'm joined by Mr. Hassan Nurudeen. He's the programs officer at the Hope Behind Bars Africa organization. We'll be talking about these issues and shining a light on them. All right, Mr. Hassan Nurudeen, welcome to Top Talk.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. This is something you've been doing for quite a while. It's your field, so you know much more than others. So I'd like to get a baseline, so to speak. Where would you say we are in Nigeria now when it comes to the issue of unlawful detentions? Is it a problem we've solved already? Is it something that is still rampant? Is something on the way to being solved? Just your general analysis before we delve into maybe specific cases and issues.
So I think for unlawful detentions, like the general Nigerian issue, we seem to be losing it every day. People are being arrested for no reason at all, and they are being kept against the edicts of the Constitution. The Constitution states that there is a certain amount of hours or days that you can keep people, even if you have arrested them legally and everything like that. But the Nigerian Constitution, but the Nigerian society or the Nigerian security outfit does not follow that. And you can wake up any day, you can be arrested for any reason. And at the end of the day, you're wondering, what have I done? People arrest you for any just cause because they just have the power and they have a uniform, so you're on your way. For example, you have dreadlocks and then you are in a cab, so somebody tries to accost you and then you're trying, I know my rights. Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? And you are going for your own daily bread. Before you know it, you have become a prisoner. So the issue has still not left. In fact, it's becoming even deeper, especially in places that you don't consider cosmopolitan in nature, places like in Abuja, Lagos, Port Harcourt, and all those places, it is there. But in smaller cities where people don't have the resources or they don't know the right thing to do, people disappear on a daily, and you don't just know what has happened to them. And, they've been picked up by security outfits or by either the police or anybody, just for no reason. And so we are not there yet. We are far away from it. And I hope that we are able to provide the right framework and the implementation tools to make sure that we reduce it in our society, or else we would have another protest that is looming large, based, not just on the general things happening in the society, but then based on that, the fact that people go missing. If you go on Twitter these days, you see people going missing, and then when people even report certain things that, I'm reporting something, people use the power that they have, because they work in one arm of the government, they then use some of these government agencies to then perpetrate evil on others. So somebody reports something that, or they do a review of something, and then they go missing, or the police is being used to threaten them. So it's a very big issue, and I think, it's a very big issue in Nigeria. When we get to the root cause of it, then we can also talk about that.
All right, fair enough. A lot of people would think we're talking about the more popular cases, but you raise an issue which is very chilling, so to speak, which is that people disappear.
Yes.
When people disappear, you could think perhaps they've been kidnapped. Something has gone wrong with people outside of the law. It's quite sad to realize that in some cases it's actually not within the law, but the law being misused in a manner of speaking. So I think what I'd like to get from you is, have there been in the course of your work, what have you noticed some cases that really, brought to mind how dire the situation is? Because when I say we know about the popular ones, take for instance when someone like the former CBN governor is arrested, and we know that there's a certain amount of time before the police have to charge him or let him go, and then the time exceeds, but people say he stole money, you should, keep him forever, And then there are others who people are more sympathetic with. They know, okay, publicly this person has been arrested, but we don't know what's going on with him. So I really want to know about those that people don't talk about, or they don't even have an idea of what's going on. Have you seen those where you meet people who have been taken and they don't even know what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, we've had several cases which a lot of people know about, but it's not also popular. For example, there's the case of Rhoda Jatau. She was arrested in Bauchi State for putting out a WhatsApp message for condemning the death of Deborah in Sokoto that died last year. And the case is still in court. What are you keeping her in prison for? The case of blasphemy. Then there's also a guy in Kano right now. I think they've moved him to Abuja. The guy changed religions, and he has been arrested for things that he has not done. Then there is one. We went to Suleja Correctional Facility the other time. A boy was arrested and thrown into prison for stealing some ogbono, maybe 5 bags of ogbono. And these are some of the things that we are also working with the government at behind bars. That how do we? There are some certain cases that does not need to go to through that long process of prison issues and everything. How do we solve those issues?
What could be the alternative?
Yeah, what could be the alternative? The alternative could be community custodial center. They could, do community service, as you've said, that we all know about community service, maybe contribute to building of a community hall, sweep a place and everything like that. There are also some issues that, you could settle amicably as against, because again, these people then go on to court. The Nigerian Correctional Service is not as efficient as it should be. There are about 77,000 people within 256 Nigerian correctional centers, and about 69% of them are waiting trials. So which means that, you are looking at thousands of people who have done one thing or the other, but because, there's no efficiency in the system, they've not been able to process them properly. Do we acquit them? Do we let them go and everything like that? And you find out that most of these people, they've done little to nothing. My family does not have the 3,000 naira to pay for my bail. That's it. And then you go to police station, they say bail is free. And then you are wondering, what is the connect between bail is free and this guy has been in prison for 5 years because they could not pay 3,000 naira and everything like that? There are a lot more like that if you go to every police station, and these are the things that our lawyers at behind bars see. You go to every police station, there are people that are not supposed to be there in the first place. And so we are also trying to work with the government in such a way that there are some cases we just, there's no need for the police to overstretch this thing and then take to court and everything like that. It should be sent to a custodial center, or even if it goes to court, sent to a custodial center, do community service, be on your way. And those who have done the real, who have perpetrated criminal acts should be sent to prison, go through that correctional phase, because we don't have prisons again in Nigeria. We have correctional facilities. Go through that correctional phase where you then, you are corrected for what you've done. And by the time you are coming out, you become a better citizen of the country. So to answer your question in the short form, there are so many.
So I think my question now would be, what you've explained now, they seem like on a more smaller scale, so to speak, or individual scales. What do you think? Is there any way to solve the overarching problem of refusal to simply obey the law or follow the rule of law? I say this because even in situations where we see that a court order has been given, even when the court says, let this person go, or sometimes the court fines the police. I've seen cases where the court has fined 2 million naira, 5 million naira, that for holding this person more than you should have paid this amount, they don't pay. We don't see any of that. So, what's the next step to solving that big problem of making the enforcers of the law to follow the law?
So I think the first thing is constitutionalism. And what's constitutionalism? Following the constitution, to the T. Like this is ministries, departments, and agencies, parastatals should know the limits of which they have powers and, where their jurisdiction lies. For example, the police largely has turned itself into a tool in the arm of the executive of the government. They've left themselves to be used by the politicians and everything like that. And so you have issues that should be civil cases, and then the police has jumped in, and then, they're also beating people up and everything like that. The first thing is we should be able to follow the Constitution. So when the court says this, we should follow it. It's because we do not have respect for different arms of government and different parastatals. That's why we muddle up the water.
So who can enforce the enforcers? That's the question now.
Well, that's a $1 million question that, everybody, who watches the watcher? That's the question we ask. And the way government is structured is that they can all watch each other.
Ideally.
Yes. So, for example, the executive, they implement things and everything like that. The judiciary, they interpret law, and the legislature, they are the ones that, they make those laws. But they are also overarching. There are also other works that they are supposed to do. So, for example, the court issues an order and the executive is not following up with it. What should the legislature do? The legislator can then say, if you do not do this thing, we will hold back some things. It is a way of, watching on each other. Or the court is not moving fast enough. The executive should be able to then call them to order in the sense that, okay, how do we make sure things work and everything like that? And it's because in the Nigerian society, we don't understand that, these things, they are intertwined. While it's an interdependency thing. So the executive works on his own, the legislator works on his own, the judiciary, and everybody leaves themselves alone so that they can, wreak havoc on society. Because when you leave one arm to do whatever he wants to do, when it's my turn, they will look away too. What that does is that we are now governing a fragile society that, everybody can take laws into their hands. So somebody can arrest me today for having this interview, and I go 6-7 months. Why have I been arrested? There is nothing in the Constitution that says that, okay, this is the reason I've been arrested. But because, somebody has the power, and the people that can call them to order, they've also been doing wrong. So you don't have that moral justification or that legal justification to say stop it, and then they would listen. And then, people just using institutions anyhow. If you have enough money in today's Nigeria, you can make somebody's life miserable. The only reason why the person's life would not be miserable is maybe they have more money than you. So it is now who has more money to control the police. Yeah, so it's because we have weak institutions and we don't want to strengthen them because certain people are gaining from all those things, and it will continue like this. So court says, okay, release these people. The police does not release them. Who is supposed to follow up with it? They do not. So there's just a dysfunction in the entire system, and we need to mop it up one step at a time. Yeah, with everybody even doing what they are supposed to do, and then you can now say you are supposed to do this thing, and then the person then does it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Trying to tackle such a large problem. But that being said, I'd like to get your thoughts on some recent developments and how it affects the whole of these issues of unlawful detention. As we speak, I believe the bill to introduce state policing or some form of state policing has scaled. It's going to second reading now. Issues like that, where the states now have more power over security and all of that, does that enhance this? Because people are always scared that governors are going to misuse it and all of that. But then others also give other aspects to this. So I just wonder, would this be a positive or would it be a negative? How would it be really in terms of curbing unlawful detentions? Does it have any effects, do you think?
Yeah, it's a two-way street, and it's before institutions are built, people build them before institution becomes, this is an institutional thing. So for me, when we discuss state policing, on one hand, I am optimistic in the sense that it then means we are moving towards federalism as it should be. The state should be in charge of the police and everything like that. On the other hand, I'm very, very pessimistic about it. For example, majority of states are owing their civil servants. So when you add police into what the state governor would then pay for, it then means police can go months without payments. And you know, these policemen, they are already earning peanuts as it is, which is one of the reasons why they get angry at young people who are like making, for example, you are using an iPhone 13. That's like a year's salary of the average policeman. And so you can understand why he is angry or she is aggressive towards you. Now, give a situation where even that money is not being paid. It's a big issue. And when you are not paying your security officials, you are leaving your entire house open to, you know, for criminals to take it up. That's number one. Number two, Nigerian governors have not shown that, you know, when you give them power, they use it in the right manner. So which means when the Nigerian governor can control the commissioner of police, can control the police within his state, his or her state. I mean, in his state, we don't have any female governor yet. So what is the probability that they will not misuse it? What is the probability that they will not use to, you know, suppress the voice of the citizens? Because then it then means the governor of a certain state can say, go to this place and then, you know, shut that place down and everything like that. So it's a two-way street for most people. On one end, it's a good thing in the sense that, yes, we are moving towards federalism. States are getting the kind of power they need and everything like that. But on the other end, state governors have not shown the ability to, you know, just do the basics of the basic, like pay salaries of your staff. They've not been able to do that. A lot of states are still owing salaries. Some cannot even pay the current minimum wage, which is 30,000 naira. Some are still paying 18,000 naira. And, you know, NLC is still fighting that we should increase it to whatever ridiculous amount they are calling. But I'm just saying that, okay, what we have right now is not obtainable by most state governors. So you now add the police parastatal into that. It then becomes a big problem if they are not able to pay, because the security there is really no security as it stands. So how much more when they are being owed? So they would oppress the citizens and everything like that. So
it's a valid concern, I believe. So let's begin to find out now what works. You know, we always try to bring as much solutions as possible. What has been working so far, and particularly I have one in mind, and I want to know what impact you feel it has. And that's the issue of social media and raising, as they call it, raising noise or trying to get more attention. Do you think that works in terms of getting actual results? Take, for instance, something that has happened somewhere, and people try to amplify it. Try to like, this thing is going on here. Does it put enough pressure to cause actual change? And also, from what we are seeing on social media, we see people send videos of policemen doing certain things. They tag PROs, and sometimes we do get response. So I wonder, is that something that should be encouraged? Because interestingly, when you talk to the police, they say that come to the station, file a report. You don't have to do that. Some persons even say you are demarketing the country by putting it in public. So I want to know, how do you navigate that? Is that something a plus or a negative, or something where we need to find new ways to do?
So I'll start from the point that I think the average Nigerian loves Nigeria. They just don't fancy the Nigerian official. So which is why they tend to do those things. For example, you don't even get your justice if you do not put it out there on social media. You've seen a lot of cases get solved, not because the police is working on it, but because it's on social media. And you've gotten to see the rot that is in the police system, generally in the Nigerian society. So the social media acts like the fourth estate of the government. I mean, and this is one of the reasons why CSOs are very, very particular about making sure that social media is never clamped down in Nigeria. Because once you take it away, you've taken the voice of the people away. I'll take you back to 2020. I was in Ibadan when I did protest in because I was traveling around then. And when you were talking to the older generation or your parents, what they thought was happening was quite different from what we were saying. So they thought we just wanted to cause trouble and everything like that. So, they just wanted to cause trouble. And if you even move up north, then they were saying, oh, it's these southern children. They are trying to, destroy the government of the then Buhari and everything
the
like that.
president himself said
yes. So without social media, I think Nigeria would be in more trouble than it is today, because it then means government has that power to perpetrate evil on people and everything like that. In recent times, you've seen a lot of stories, including the now chief of staff. He had one issue at the National Assembly then and everything like that. People have been able to get justice just by posting it on social media. So I don't think social media should go. I think if you look at the heart of the average Nigerian, they love Nigeria. And I don't know how to quantify that data, but you would see it when good things happen to Nigeria. For example, during this this African Cup of Nations, people were, saying nice things about the Super Eagles until they find out when they lost and everything like that. It shows you that we all want the country to work. If everybody is doing the right thing, people would not complain. And, people then say you are demarketing the country. I don't think whatever it is I put out there is because of demarketing. I probably have 0.1% of, it's people who have power and everything. When they misuse their power and then it gets into the public, they're actually demarketing the country. It's not the average person that is just trying to, for example, before we came on air, we were discussing the issue around how people report on Twitter. The person is not reporting on Twitter because it feels like he or she feels like reporting on Twitter. The person is reporting on Twitter because his or her life is at stake. So I'm fighting for my life right now. You are talking about demarketing the country, whereas there are certain things that you are doing which does not have any adverse effect on your life. Actually, you have adverse effect on millions of people's life, which actually demarkets the country, but you don't see that as, it's when people start doing the things that they are supposed to do, people would say the right things. I mean, it's not science, it's not rocket science. Do the right thing, people would say the right thing. Do the wrong thing, people would say the truth about you. And I always say this, if 3 or 4 people are saying the same thing about you, and you still conclude in your mind that, you are not the one at fault, then maybe you need to check yourself. How much more millions of people? So the Nigerian police needs to check itself. Millions of people complain every day. If not for banditry that has now become like a high-tier stuff, people don't even want to see the police. You see the police, even till now, you see the police, you freeze.
But they also feel as though they're being unduly punished for the behaviors of a few bad eggs, and they're seeking more of a friendly outlook to them. Police is your friend, so to speak. So I don't know, how do you respond to that when they say, well, these people you are talking about, they are just a minority and they don't really represent the entire force?
If you bad eggs will be like 5 or 6 or 7, you're not talking about 2,000 or 3,000. If you meet 10 policemen, 8 of them would give you the same attitude that you think is wrong. So it's the data that is just showing, and this is the representation of people. How does the police even look at issues with people? Women go to the Nigerian police station and then they report rape, and then they tell them that
But is there an opportunity for collaboration with the police?
Yes, there's
at the end of the day, so they don't always seem like the bad guy, so to speak, that can be reasoned with.
There's always room to collaborate with the police. I mean, from a citizen's perspective, from the CSO perspective, from the media perspective, there's always room to collaborate with the police. But how much is the police willing to take that opportunity to then work with people? Do you understand? And it's a very, very simple thing. You do one good today, you do tomorrow, you do next tomorrow. It changes over time. But you do one today and then you do 10 bad things later on. Which one do you want me to buy into? They steal your phone today. As a good citizen, the first thing you're supposed to do is go and report in the police station. But the police would actually want to collect money to track that phone that that it has gone forever. So what would you do? You probably just count your losses and then go and look for money to buy a new phone. And that's just a basic issue. Now, come to think of, you've been robbed or you've been harassed and everything like that. How do you then bring it to the police? or the police. Yeah,
I get that. So,
yeah.
in the interest of solutions, what advice would you give someone who somehow found themselves in this situation, from the point of view of the person? Because I can imagine how traumatic it must be when you are taking. And these days, there's a new issue. I believe it has been raised, and some of the PRs have spoken about it, where even law enforcement do not announce themselves, which I believe they are obligated to do. Because if someone random with a gun says, do this, do that, ideally you should automatically think this person is outside the law. But then you find out that sometimes, and they say they are undercover. But that being said, are there things people can begin to have in their mind as a way of seeking justice for themselves if these things happen one way or another? Maybe you are caught up somewhere, there was a raid or so on. So 2 questions I want you to unbundle that. What tips or ideas could you give such a person? And on the other hand, there's also the issue where those who have been unlawfully or who are going to be unlawfully detained, sometimes their names are forever attached to these stories. So if you go online, you can see a name, and when you Google that name, perhaps you want to do some vetting for someone, and you see a headline, EFCC nabbs 46 fraudsters. And probably that issue was resolved, but their name is permanently attached to that. So what do you say to these persons, how to go about it, and also with the issue of these things being attached to people's names?
I think so. It will come from a place of two citizens advising each other. First of all, always let family or friends know where you are. So when they are looking for your last name, it's easy for you. And if you have access to, if you have access to your phone while you are being arrested, text somebody who can come for you and everything like that. Sometimes use the social media. It really helps a lot. For people who are being kidnapped, always put on your location. I think these are, because again, when you are looking at it from the police point of view, I don't think there's really any fundamental help they bring to the table at this point in time. For example, you ask, so you've arrested me now. You have nothing against me. You will force me to write a statement or you write a statement and you tell me to sign by fire by force. How do I trust that kind of person? So most times I think you should let people outside your environment to know where you are at every given point. That would really help a lot, and then they can help you, because it's easier to help from the outside than the inside. If people don't know you are inside, it's a big problem. I still know I still know that there are a lot of people who are still in prison just because they participated in a protest some years ago. And protesting is not a crime, but because they've been arrested and the likes. The second question is
people's names being attached.
Yes, so the Nigerian government should learn to do rejoinder and then to learn to correct their mistakes. Yes, you are doing your work as a law enforcement agency. You've picked up people, and I think there's also that government agencies also pick up. Could I call it bad behavior? There's this room to want to be sensational. So you've gone to arrest people, you've not concluded on your investigation, and you are putting their names out there. Their names, the law says you are innocent until you are proven guilty. So which means even at the point of being arrested, I'm still innocent. I know some of my lawyer friends, if they catch you that you are stabbing the person, they'll say you allegedly murdered the person. They will not say you've murdered the person until the law court states that this person has murdered the person. So from that point, until a court has pronounced someone guilty, the police should not put it out there. And even when they do, they should be willing and they should be open to put out rejoinders stating that, we made a mistake. If newspaper houses, private organizations, CSOs, and everything can issue rejoinders stating that, this news, we put it out in bad faith. These things, we did it in bad faith. We are apologizing and we are calling it back. I don't see what it's... that also builds trust from people that, governments can make mistakes and then they can recall it. And, it then builds the trust that government is claiming that they don't have, or police is claiming that they don't have, from the people.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hassan.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.